Alright, man. Today we're gonna look at why we can't remember being a baby. We're gonna see why it's that we can remember everything, not being a baby, not our childhood. Well, let's get into it.
You lived an entire life before the age of 3. You were born. You opened your eyes for the first time. You heard your mother's voice. You tasted food. You took your first steps. You said your first word. And you remember none of it. Not a single moment. Most people assume the answer is simple.
Damn,
Your
that's
brain
hella
wasn't
true.
ready yet. You were too young. But that's not quite right. And the real answer is far stranger than you'd expect. Because your baby brain wasn't failing to record your life. It was recording
Yeah,
everything.
it's
Your
probably
memories were
recording
there, but
everything.
something destroyed them. In 1905, Sigmund Freud became the first person to put a name to this phenomenon. He called it infantile amnesia. Babies can form memories. We know this for a fact. In the 1980s, psychologists
It's like we can remember everything, but we probably can't store it somewhere because our brains is too small.
Carolyn Rovey Collier at Rutgers University ran an elegant experiment. She tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a mobile hanging above their crib. The
What?
babies quickly learned that kicking made the mobile move, and they loved it. When she brought the same babies back days later, they remembered. They started kicking immediately. Even 2-month-olds could hold that memory for a couple of days. 6-month-olds remembered for weeks. So infant brains can learn. They can store
We
information. They
definitely
can
can,
recall
yeah.
it, but those memories don't last. By adulthood, every trace is gone. And for decades, scientists couldn't fully explain why. The first part of the answer is
That's probably because
structural.
our
The
brains is too
hippocampus, a
small.
small curved structure deep in your brain, is the engine of memory formation. It's what allows you to take a lived experience, a birthday, a conversation, a walk in the rain, and
Yeah.
encode it as an episode you can later replay in your mind. In adults, the hippocampus works with the prefrontal cortex to tag, store, and retrieve these episodes. But in infants, this system is severely
Okay, so it looks like it's because we don't have a frontal cortex and it's not fully developed.
underdeveloped. The connections between the hippocampus and the cortex are still being built. Key regions like the dentate gyrus, which acts as a gateway for
What the
new
hell is
memories,
that?
aren't fully wired until somewhere between ages 2 and 4. So your infant brain could form short-term memories.
Oh,
It
okay,
just
only
couldn't
short
move them
term
into
memories, but
long-term storage the way an
we can't
adult brain
remember it
does. But
long
that's only
term.
half the story. And honestly, what comes next is even stranger. Because in 2014, 2 neuroscientists in Toronto discovered something that changed how we think about infant memory entirely.
It's crazy how people get paid to just like do these random researches. It's like today we're gonna find out why we can't do this and we're gonna pay you for it.
Sheena Jocelyn and Paul Franklin at the Hospital for Sick Children had a hypothesis that sounded almost absurd. What if the very process that builds your brain is also what destroys your memories?
What?
Here's what they meant. In the first years of life, your hippocampus is producing new neurons at an extraordinary rate. This is
Okay.
called neurogenesis, and it's essential. Those new brain cells are what wire up the circuits you'll use for the rest of your life. But Jocelyn and Franklin suspected there was a cost. Every time a new neuron integrates into an existing circuit, it disrupts the connections that were already there, the connections that were holding your
I can't even
memories. To
understand
test
what they're
this, they
talking
ran
about, man.
experiments on mice. When they
Too
artificially
dumb.
increased neurogenesis in adult mice, those mice started forgetting things they had previously learned. And when they slowed neurogenesis in infant mice, those infant mice held onto their memories longer than normal. The results, published in the journal Science, pointed to a deeply counterintuitive conclusion. Your baby brain wasn't too weak to hold memories. It was too busy growing. The same explosion of new neurons
See, I knew that was the case. It's cause like our brains are way too small and we need like a big brain to just store everything in it.
neurons that built your brain also overwrote the memories stored inside it. Your earliest experiences weren't lost because they were never saved. They were lost because your brain kept building new rooms and tearing down the old walls in the process. But there's another layer to this. And it might be the strangest part of all. To form what scientists call autobiographical memory, the kind of memory where you are the main character of an experience you can replay in your mind, you need something most people take for granted. You need a sense of self. You need to understand
That's
that you
right.
exist as a
Yeah,
person,
because
separate from the world
babies
around
really
you,
don't know
that
what to
things
be
are
going
happening to
on.
you. Developmental psychologists Mark Howe and Mary Courage argued in the late 1990s that this is a critical missing piece. Before roughly 18 to 24 months of age, infants don't recognize themselves as distinct individuals. The classic test for this is simple. Put a
Damn, I wonder what they think. Like, what babies think they are. Like, are they humans or are they just like, they don't know they're people, so I wonder what they think.
dot of rouge on a baby's nose and place them in front of a mirror. Before 18 months, babies treat the reflection like another child. They don't reach for the mark on their own face. After 18 months, they do. They recognize that the person in the mirror is them. And that
Okay, so they
moment,
don't
the birth
know
of self
until 18
recognition,
months that
closely
it's them,
tracks with
it's a
the
person.
earliest age at which autobiographical memories can form. In other words, you can't remember being a baby partly because there was no you yet. Not in the way that you experience yourself now. There was no narrator inside your head packaging experiences into a story that belonged to a person called you, which raises an uncomfortable question. If you had no continuous sense of self and the brain that held your earliest experiences physically rewired itself beyond recognition, is the baby in your old photos actually you? Or is it someone else entirely?
It's a stranger.
Someone who lived in the same body but whose mind was literally disassembled and rebuilt, neuron by neuron, into the person you became. There's one more piece: language. Developmental psychologist Catherine Nelson spent years studying how children form lasting memories. Her conclusion was
Oh,
that
yeah, that's
language
right.
doesn't just describe
Babies also can't remember their speaking. They can't understand what English is, so they won't know how to remember.
our memories. It structures them. Before you could speak, your experiences were encoded as raw sensory impressions: sounds, textures, emotions, light. But without words to organize them, those impressions had no framework to attach to. Once children begin
Yeah,
speaking, and
it's
especially
crazy.
once they begin having conversations with adults about past events, remember when we went to the park? Their ability to form lasting memories improves dramatically. Language gives memory a skeleton. Without it, experiences are like water with no container. They exist in the moment, then they're gone. And this isn't just
Really?
theory. Psychologist Chi Wong at Cornell found that the age of your earliest memory actually varies depending on your culture. In Western cultures, where parents frequently narrate their children's experiences, asking questions, telling stories, building personal narratives, earliest memories tend to start around age 3.5. Among the Maori of New Zealand, whose oral tradition places extraordinary emphasis on personal history and storytelling, average first memories reach all the way back to age 2.5. In some East Asian cultures where early childhood narratives focus less on the individual, first memories tend to start closer to age 4 or
Damn,
later.
that's old
The
as
culture
hell.
you grow up in literally shapes how far back your memory reaches. So here's what actually happened to your earliest years. Your hippocampus wasn't ready to build long-term memories. And
Okay.
even when it started to, the flood of new neurons tore through the circuits that held them. You had no concept of self to anchor experiences to, and you had no language to give those experiences a structure that could survive. It wasn't one thing, it was everything all at once. Every human being who has ever lived went through this. Every person you've ever met has a black hole where the first years of their life should be. And the
Yeah.
answer to why isn't that your brain was too simple. It's that your brain was doing something far more important than remembering. It was becoming you, and that required, quite literally, destroying the person who came before.